Hi, and welcome to Craft Along with Jay. I am so happy you could join me today. Today I have four beautiful butterfly decor DIYs. For project number one, you need one of those little frames from Walmart and a butterfly, I think it's from Walmart too, and some fabric. And I think the fabric is from the Dollar Tree. And I had some fairy lights, but I'm not using it for this project. It didn't really work out for me the way I wanted it. So I'm doing something else instead. You'll see that a little bit later. But first, I'm going to measure out how much fabric I need for the inside of my little frame. And I'm just laying it in there and using a pencil to draw around the edges. And then I'll cut that out of my fabric. And that fits on the inside. And then before we glue that in, I'm going to paint the box with plaster, except for the middle part where we're going to glue the fabric in. And then for my butterfly, I'm experimenting a little bit. Here I'm using some creamy coral, mixing it with some white, and I'm using that for the base color of my butterfly. And I wanted it close enough to match the fabric, but once I paint it on there um, and let it dry, I kind of changed my mind and switched it up a little bit. And I'll let you know a little bit later what I did. But it became a little too pink for me, and that's not what I was going for. You see that? Not quite what I wanted. But I'll fix that a little bit later. And then I'm just using I think that's coral, just regular coral paint for the raised areas. And then I'm using bark brown for the body of my butterfly. And what I end up doing for the base color, you see, is a little bit darker, and I use that creamy coral, and I mix it with a little bit of the bark brown, just a little bit, just to tone it down. And I like that so much better. I think it looked so much prettier. And here on the inside of my frame, I'm just going to use some Mod Podge, cover the whole inside, and then I'll glue in my little fabric piece, and then we'll put that to the side and let that dry. And while that's drying, I just want to welcome you to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here, and if you're new, welcome. I hope you'll stick around and watch what I'm up to. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And here I am going to distress my frame. And I do see I forgot to paint that little edge right there, but I will go in and fix that here in a little bit. I noticed that when I'm getting to that side to distress that it's missing some paint. But I'll paint it a little bit later. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish distressing my frame. And I'm just using antique wax for that. Then I'm gonna use some Mod Podge and excuse me, cover my butterfly, just the wings. And I'll do that all the way around. I think I'm doing one wing at a time, because we're gonna do something with it before it dries. Then I'm taking my gold leaf flakes, um, and we're gonna use that, use some pieces from that to kind of spruce up our wings, give it some metallic look, and it looks so pretty. So this is like foil stuff, so it's very fragile. Um, but you kind of work with it, and it will stick to wherever there's some tackiness. So there, I'm just kind of putting it just randomly around. Because then once it dries, I take a dry paintbrush and I'm going to paint over it so the stuff that's not tacked down with the Mod Podge will come off. And then you can add more, you can leave it, but it looks really pretty. I love it. So just kind of randomly put it in there. And then I go ahead and do the other side while that's drying. And I'll do the same thing over there. Just randomly put them down. The butterfly's already looking really beautiful like that. I like it. Okay, and then we're going to let that side dry. And then once it's dry and I kind of brushed over it a little bit, then I'm going to seal it in with some more Mod Podge. That way, none of it will flake off. That's what it looks like. What do you think? There we go. And here I'm brushing some of it off. And then I'll add some Mod Podge on top to seal it in. That's what it looks like. And then I glued it onto my box. And I just used some hot glue to glue it on. And so this is what I'm doing instead of my little fairy lights. I'm taking some white stems from a flower pick, and I'll just wrap them around with some jute twine and glue it on top of my box. And then I'm taking the white one of the burlap um, flowers and put it right there in the middle. And that will be it for this one. Let me know what you think about this one. I would like to know. I think it turned out really pretty. Okay, project number 2. We're going to just take this one of these little wood blocks from the Dollar Tree, and I got 3 different color paint, a white, I think it's glacier, ice, and something blue. Ooh, forgot what it's called. Then I have 4 butterflies, 3 of the same kind and 1 that's different. And then I just have a saying cutout that I found on Cricut Design Space, and I just cut that out, and we'll be using that. So here in my wood block, I'm using the 3 colors, the 2 blues and the white, and I'm just gonna streak it on and start blending it in. So it's not just a uniform color. It's going to end up looking really nice. So I just keep brushing it on, adding colors wherever I see fit and how I want it to look. And I'm just doing this method on the front part of my block. The sides and the back, I'm just going to do the darker one at the blue. You see how you can kind of see the 3 colors there? Just keep playing around with it till you get the look that you want. And then here I'm going to do the sides, and then I'll do the back as well. Because it'll be a shelf sitter, so you may be able to see the back. That's what it looks like. I think it's super pretty. Then for the 3 butterflies, that's the same. I'm going to do plaster. And then the butterfly that looks different, I'm going to do French lilac. And I'll just paint them all. And here I'm doing the plaster ones. Just a little touch-ups. And then I'm going to work on my Cricut cutout. And it says, be different. So here I'm transferring it to my transfer tape. And I'm just going to put one word down at a time because I think there's too much space in between them. I wanted them a little bit closer. So I'm doing, I think, different first. And then I do the B part after. You just lay it down and rub it in and then pull the transfer tape off. You just keep rubbing it until it sticks down. You can always lay the transfer tape back down if it's not completely off. And do some more rubbing. There we go. And then I'm placing the word B a little bit closer than it was. And then I'm just going to take the pieces off in between the words. And I'll use my little Cricut tool right there. Just like that. And then I'm going to use some Mod Podge just to go over the words, just to seal it in. I don't want it to start peeling off. And then once you're done with that, I'm going to, oh yeah, I'm going to add some Mod Podge to my butterflies, then I'll dry, and then I'm going to use some more of the little, um, the gold foil leaves and decorate my little butterflies, give them a little flair. And I just add small pieces around. And then I do the same thing as I did with the first project. Let it dry and then brush the excess off and then Mod Podge on top to seal it in. And it turns out super cute. And I do the same thing for all four of them. Not sure why I'm showing you all of it, but maybe because it was so neat. Because they really are beautiful. And here I'm brushing off the excess and just getting in the grooves and through the little holes so it's not covering the holes. You just want it to cover the wooden part of the butterfly. And once that's all dry, then I'm going to line them up on my little block. So I have them going the same direction, but then I have the one that's purple just going in a different direction because it's all about being different and it's okay. And there we go. I love this one. I think that's one of my favorites. And then I'm just gluing them down with some wood glue. And that's what it looks like. I love it. What do you think about this one? All right, project number 3. And here we're just going to use, that may be an old spaghetti jar that I cleaned out, some butterfly fabric, some picks, and the fairy lights that I didn't use in the first one. I'll use it in this one. So I'm going to use some Mod Podge, and I'm going to start brushing that on my glass jar. Just do a pretty good coat. And then I'll start adding my fabric, trying to figure out which way to go. The butterflies are kind of going in all kinds of directions. And then I'll press it down. And just kind of rub it down gently. Try to make sure there's not too many wrinkles. And then I just keep on adding till I make it all the way around my jaw. Yep, like so. And then I'm cutting off the excess and then I'm going to Mod Podge that down as well. And I do the same thing for the top part. You see, just around the edges and then kind of fold it over a little bit. And I gave it some Mod Podge on top of the fabric as well. And here I got some nautical rope and I'm taking that piece of tape off that's at the end of the ropes because I don't want the tape to show on my projects. I'm just doing some dab of hot glue in between the strands and then twist it up to hold its shape. And then I'm going to start gluing that around the top of my jaw. And I'm starting from the back where the fold of the fabric is, because that's where the nautical rope will connect with itself as well. So that way it's all on the back side. And I'm just going to go around 2 times. And it will cover the neck of the jaw. I just kind of go on top right there. Just using some hot glue. Gives it a nice finished look with the nautical rope. There we go. And then I decide to do the same thing at the bottom. And I'm starting from the back again, where everything else is connecting. And I'm just doing it one time around. And it looks so pretty. I'm glad I did that. It looks super cute. And then I'll put my little fairy lights in there. I was struggling a little bit to keep the wires in there. They keep wanting to pop back out. And then I'm just going to give that little switch case a little dab of glue, and I'm gluing it to the back side of my jaw. Because that way you can turn the lights on and off on the outside of the jaw. There we go. Turn it on to make sure it works. And it does. Look at that. Isn't that super pretty? And then I'm cutting down my flowers to size. And I put them in there, and I thought these blue flowers match the butterflies perfectly on the outside. All right, on to project number 4. You need one of these wooden frames from the Dollar Tree, some popsicle sticks. Not sure where I got those, and some of these butterfly rub-on transfers, and some more of the bark brown and creamy coral. And I'm gonna mix them up like I did on the first project on the butterfly, because I really liked that toned down coral color. I thought it was beautiful. And here I'm mixing it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and paint my frame. And I'm doing both sides of my frame with this color. And here it is, and then I'm gonna antique wax my popsicle sticks, and then I'm gonna lay them across the frame and start with my pencil, just kind of draw a little line of where they need to be cut so they can fit, just covering the frame only. I mean the whole part of the frame, and not going out to the design on the edges. So I'm just laying them down, tracing them, and then I'll start cutting them. And put them back just to make sure they fit. And at first I used some hot glue to glue these pieces together, um, but that didn't really work out too great. So I decided to use some wood glue, and then I used some clamps from the Dollar Tree to hold them together, and let them dry. So that was kind of a timely process, but it was worth it because it's holding on so much better, and it looks better as well instead of hot glue, because it can get a little lumpy. So you can see it actually looks pretty good sitting there. And then I decided to do a little distressing on my frame. And then I have this saying from one of the butterfly squares that I wanted to add. Um, I forgot. I think it says, if you believe in yourself, anything is possible. And I'm going to get that right in the middle of my um, shiplap backing of the frame. And then I'll wrap that in, and then I'll start pulling it back slowly. This is some super sticky tape with these rub-on transfers, so you have to be so careful when you use them. They're very pretty and it looks nice, but you gotta have the patience with these. And here I'm just looking for some smaller butterflies that I can rub on um, to spruce it up a little bit. And I'm using 2 butterflies, and I'm using a flower. Try to keep it as close to the color of the frame as possible, but still with a little pop of its own. try to figure out where to put this butterfly. And we'll have it right down the side. And then I'm going to do a little flower at the bottom. And I keep putting the frame up just to make sure that the frame is not going to cover the rub-on transfers, but you can actually see them. And there we go. And it's still looking good. And then I'm just going to use some wood glue to glue um, the frame and the backing together on the back side, like so. And I'll just go around with some wood glue. And then once I got that on, I'll clamp it down again and let it dry. Takes a little bit longer with wood glue than it does for hot glue, but it's okay. I had plenty of time. And then once that's drying, I'm going to go back to my Mod Podge and my uh, gold foil leaves, and we're going to spruce up the frame. I used that a lot this video, but I really got into it once I started using it. I think it looks so pretty. But if you don't like this, you can just skip this part if you're going to recreate it. I just really liked it. And I'm just randomly putting it on there. I'm just starting on the spaces where there's no clamp sitting, and once I get done with that, the rest of it will start drying enough that I can take them off and add some there as well. Yeah, here I'm starting to cover them up already with some Mod Podge. And then once I'm done, I'm taking a piece of this brown nautical rope and I'm going to add it to the back of my frame. And I added some hot glue on top of the nautical rope as well, and then I used some masking tape, um, just some extra security to hold it in place on the back. This frame is not heavy at all, but just precautionary, and that's what it looks like. You have to let me know what you think about this one as well. And now to the finished view. And here they are. I think they're super cute. Wait till you see the light in that little vase. Can you see it? Ah, so beautiful. Love it. I want to thank you all so much for stopping by today, and I'm so happy you made it to the end. And if you haven't done so, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting. It would really help my channel out, and I would truly appreciate it. Until next time.